But what I want to ask you more about your reading habits as a child. But let's before we continue talking about Coup, let's give esteemed audience who hasn't just read it, who just ordered their copy or ran to the store real fast while we're in their head to make sure they get it off the shelf or the library. Get yourself a copy, esteemed
I
audience.
love libraries too.
What would you give esteemed audience just an overview of what they can expect to read about when they open up Coup?
Sure. Ku is about a 10-year-old girl whose name is Ku, who has lived almost her entire life in secret on a roof in a city at the edge of a rail yard. And she's lived with a flock of pigeons who have cared for her since she was a child. And one day, her pigeon that she's closest to, whose name is Burr, is injured by a hawk, and she is forced to go down to the ground for the first time to make contact with a local woman named Tully who feeds the flock to try to get him help. And meeting Tully changes her life forever because Tully ends up taking her in, and she starts to learn what it's like to live as a human in the human world. And at the same time, they discover that there's a serious threat to her flock of pigeons and all the pigeons in the city. And Ku has to work together with Tully and her new local neighbor friend Aggie and a pigeon veterinarian named Nicholas to try to save the pigeons.
It is charming.
Oh,
It is utterly lovely experience. Little sad, but never too sad.
Yeah, the pigeons survive. I mean, maybe that's a spoiler, but as a child, I always wanted to know that there wasn't going to be a kind of. I really struggled with books where there was a wipeout of animals, where animals really suffered. So I would avoid those books.
Well, are you somebody that reads the last chapter first? You want to know that everything is going to come out mostly okay?
When I was a child, I definitely did. I found books that were truly heart-wrenching really difficult to deal with when I was a kid. I would get very like emotionally affected for a while after reading them.
I never read the end first. In fact, I hate myself when I accidentally start in the wrong place. Wait a minute, my bookmark was over there. Oh no, I spoiled 2 chapters from now.
Yeah.
But I sometimes get a little bit antsy if I think that no one's gonna die. Like, wait a minute, thematically, somebody has to bite it here.
Well, now I'm actually thinking, does anyone die? Well, I don't want to give away too many spoilers. There are harrowing moments.
You can give away all the spoilers you want because it's your book. I am terrible about it, so I always make sure that I let you do the actual talking about the book. Like, did you want to reveal there's a character named Tully? Okay, we can talk about Tully now.
Yeah, I think Tully might be is Tully in the well, I guess Tully is not in the jacket copy, but I don't mind. I feel like Tully is actually, it's interesting talking to readers. I know that there are quite a few readers I've spoken to or who have written things that I've read after reading the book, who Tully is definitely the character that they feel the most kinship with, which I think is great. I love her too. She's very sensitive and compassionate. And I find it interesting that I spoke to a group of a kids book club, middle grade kids book club, that read an advanced reader copy edition of Coup a few months ago, and we Skyped during their meeting, and it was interesting the number of them that wanted a sequel. So I was shocked. Never even occurred to me, but they wanted a sequel that showed just Coup's day-to-day life with Tully and Aggie going to school. So I felt like that was really, really nice to hear, and the kids really connected with Tully as well, which I was glad to hear about.
Well, this must be nothing compared to the nerve-wracking experience of addressing a group of middle grade readers.
Yeah, they were lovely. They were great. There was nothing. They asked really good questions too.
Was it a classroom worth, or how many are we talking?
No, it was about 10, and it was part of a children's bookstore in Minneapolis, Minnesota, called Wild Rumpus. that I've never been to, but sounds incredible because they have children's books and different children's and YA book clubs, and they also have a lot of bookstore animals, including some bookstore birds and some cats. The cat came to the meeting and was crawling all over everyone's the table.
That sounds lovely. And the children were all positive. They had nice things to say.
Yes, they were. I loved that there is like a book club for. I mean, now I found out that there are actually quite a few book clubs out there for middle grade readers at bookstores across the country, and I just wish that I had access to something like that when I was a kid, because I didn't. There weren't very many other kids at my school when I was in elementary and middle school who were as into reading as I was. I think I would have really enjoyed being in a group of other kids who also identified as readers and really sought out books and got to talk about it.
Well, you're certainly making up for it here in later life.
Yeah.
You are, if you haven't been surrounded by readers up to this point, you certainly will be going forward.
Yes. Yes.